Hey everyone, what's going on today? We are looking at who the potential next Fed chairs are and some of the tools the Fed has used in this video, which is going to be our last. And to start us off, we're going to watch a quick video where Trump teases who this potential next person is. If you're enjoying these series, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.
I want to thank you all for being here. It's a great group. And I guess a potential Fed chair is here too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin.
So we're gonna be talking about who this Kevin is and why Trump is so bullish on him as the next Fed chair. It's Kevin Hassett. He is a person who has served in the Trump administration before. He is currently let me make sure I read his title correctly because it is a long one. Director of National Economic Council of the Director of the National Economic Council of the United States. Boy, oh boy, is that a mouthful. That is his current position within the administration. But before he worked, before he worked at all, he got his PhD BA from Swarthmore and PhD from Penn. Both of them were in econ. And then during Trump 1, he served as an advisor and specifically an economic advisor. He also wrote or created created a model that was tried to predict COVID deaths and COVID infections. And it was super notable because this model was a lot less, it said that there was going to be a lot less deaths and infections than a lot of the health institutes were predicting. And it ended up being a big point of contention. He also worked at Columbia as an associate professor, as well as this American Enterprise Institute, which is a right-wing think tank. Think Rockbridge Foundation, Heritage Foundation. We've talked a lot about them in the past week, but something of the similar sense. I also thought this quote where he was on an official trip to Ireland. And he's talking about why Ireland is often used as a tax haven for U.S. citizens. He goes on to say, it's not Ireland's fault that the U.S. tax laws were written by somebody on acid. And I just thought this was funny and very sort of on par for Trump 1 of somebody who is very smart but doesn't necessarily know the politically correct thing to say. All of that being said, he ended up leaving Trump administration shortly after this, coming back to do the advisory during COVID, and then ended up leaving after that role until he came back for Trump 2 in his current role. So the so what's of the Federal Reserve are it's trying to keep employment high and inflation low. These are the sort of main goals of the Fed. But to do so, the sort of demand is opposite. To keep employment high, you want lower interest rates so that more people are borrowing money and spending money and can hire more people, and you have more people working. But to keep inflation down, you want interest rates to be high so that there is less money trading hands, and the amount of money that is being created and put into the system and the money supply is lower so that things inflate less quickly. And so these two ideas are often referred to as the dual mandate of the Fed. And they have sort of inverse demands and inverse things that they want from the Fed. And so it's important to understand that they're supposed to balance these two diverse sort of interests and produce monetary policy for the U.S. that is acts as a safeguard. It's also super important that they remain independent from actually impartial from political sway. From their point of view, if they're perceived ever to have lost said independence, it would be catastrophic, to say the least, for the global bond market and long-term U.S. Treasury market. So a couple of the tools used by the Fed that we talked about were the discount window. This was during World War I. It's sort of an option of last resort, as you want people to do stuff, but you don't really have anything else. Interest on reserves. This is the one we hear about the most. This is what Powell is often coming out and talking about when he says he's cutting interest rates, that this is what he is referring to. Open market operations refers to buying and selling of specifically government securities. That the Fed often does this, especially if there's companies that need help. So I think SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, was not necessarily the Fed buying the company, but it was facilitated by the Fed for whatever bank that did end up acquiring SVB to do so. And the last tool we talked about was the quantitative easing, which they used during the 2008 recession and COVID. And so last thing was what Trump wants from the Fed, which is very clearly lower interest rates. He wants somebody who will listen to him while still having this sort of facade of being independent. And somebody like Hassett, who has come out and said very boldly, he's in support of these tariffs and he is in support of the Trump policy, while also still being a well-respected and smart person, is someone who meets the bill well and is looked at by Polymarket to be the favorite to win not win, but to fill this position next. And so I think the next thing that's likely going to happen is an announcement from Trump sometime in early 26, where he will name either Hassett or someone else in a similar position to replace Powell in May of 26. Because I don't see how, despite all of this pushback, Powell could stay in power.